I never imagined my brother would be the person to make me question everything I thought about family. But here I was, standing in the middle of his fancy birthday dinner, completely humiliated in front of a room full of people. My name is Jake, and I'm 27. I've always been the guy who gets called when things go wrong. You need money? Call Jake. Your car's broken? Jake will fix it. Stressed about a life decision? Ask Jake for advice. I never minded being the dependable one. I liked it. It felt good to be needed, to know I was helping out my family. But this was the point where it all went wrong. It all started when Matt, my older brother, turned 30. Matt and I were close growing up, but the older we got, the more distant we became. He married Lisa 2 years ago, and since then, things have felt different. I guess it was just the natural progression of things. He had a wife, his own life, and I was left to support him in every way possible. I didn't mind. I wasn't expecting anything in return. After all, we were family. This birthday party was supposed to be a nice way to celebrate Matt's big 3-0, so when he invited me, I agreed without hesitation. A few weeks before, Lisa sent me an invitation, and I didn't think much of it at the time. But as the day approached, I started getting uneasy. There were subtle things Matt had said, little offhand comments here and there, that made me realize how much I had been taken for granted. Jake, could you help me out with the party arrangements? You know how I am with planning these things, Matt had said, a week before the dinner. I didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary. Sure, I said. I'll help out. What do you need? Well, if you could cover the catering deposit, that'd be great. I'll pay you back when I get paid, he'd replied, as casually as if I'd asked to borrow a book. No problem, I thought. I transferred the money, and everything went ahead. But as the days wore on, I began to feel a gnawing sense of discomfort. It wasn't just the money, it was the way Matt acted as if I was some kind of tool, someone to be used for favors. But I told myself, it's his birthday. Just suck it up and enjoy the night. The day of the party arrived, and I got dressed in a nice suit, picked up a high-end gift for Matt, a smartwatch I knew he'd been eyeing for months, and drove over to the venue. It was a beautiful restaurant, the kind that had dim lighting, polished wood floors, and chandeliers that made everything look more expensive than it actually was. I arrived early, hoping to settle in before things got too chaotic. But as I walked inside, I immediately noticed something off. The first thing that caught my attention was the seating arrangement. It was elaborate, tables arranged in a way that looked like a scene from a wedding, complete with name cards for everyone. There were multiple long tables, each beautifully set, but no one had arrived yet. I looked for my name card. It wasn't there. My stomach dropped. I checked again, scanning each table more carefully, trying to ignore the growing unease in my chest. But there was nothing. Panic started creeping in, and I tried to keep my face neutral. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they just hadn't put it out yet. So, I stood by the bar, waiting, hoping for someone to show up and explain it away. The room slowly began to fill with guests, friends of Matt and Lisa, distant relatives, and a few coworkers of theirs. Still, no one approached me. Then I saw Lisa. She was talking to a few people near the front, laughing and being the perfect hostess. Her smile never reached her eyes, and that uneasy feeling in my gut grew. I walked up to her, trying to keep my voice calm. Hey, Lisa, is there a mistake with the seating? I asked, trying to keep the tone light. She turned, her face lighting up at the sight of me. Oh, Jake, you're here. That's great, she said, a little too enthusiastically. Yeah, seating's a little tight. We had to make some adjustments. I smiled, though my insides were starting to churn. Yeah, but I don't see a place card for me. Her expression shifted for a moment, just a flicker, but it was enough for me to notice. She hesitated before speaking. Well, we were trying to prioritize the close family and the important guests, you know? She said, her voice taking on that syrupy sweet tone I was starting to despise. We made some changes at the last minute, but don't worry. I'm sure we'll find a seat for you. I nodded, trying to keep my cool. I wasn't going to make a scene yet, but as I turned to look around, my eyes caught something I didn't expect. There, at the very front of the room, was Matt, sitting with Lisa and a few of their friends, laughing and enjoying himself. He was sitting with all the important guests, all of them in fancy suits and dresses, completely oblivious to the discomfort starting to bubble up inside me. I felt a sting in my chest. I was family. Why wasn't I sitting with them? I turned back to Lisa, feeling the anger rising now. Lisa, what do you mean by important guests? I'm his brother. Shouldn't I be sitting with the family? She blinked, clearly caught off guard by my directness. Oh, well, she said, her voice trailing off. We had to make some decisions. You know how these things go. We had to have a balance. I felt my hands start to shake. A balance? I repeated, my voice thick with frustration. So, you couldn't find a place for me at the main table, but you've got room for all of Matt's coworkers and their plus ones? Lisa's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. Jake, please don't take it personally. It's just a seating arrangement. You're still part of the evening. I couldn't take it anymore. This is ridiculous, I snapped, my voice louder now. A few heads turned in my direction. I've done everything for you too. I loaned Matt money when he needed it. I co-signed on your mortgage. I've done everything to help you two out, and this is how you repay me. Lisa's eyes widened. Jake, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. I took a deep breath, trying to control my anger. But the words had already escaped, and I couldn't take them back. Yeah, you're right. It's not a big deal. Just like I'm not a big deal, right? That's when Matt spoke up, his voice laced with annoyance. Jake, stop making a scene, he said, his tone cold. You're being dramatic. Just sit down and enjoy the party. This angered me. I was being dramatic? I'm being dramatic? I repeated, stepping closer to the table, now in full view of everyone. You know what's dramatic, Matt? Treating your own brother like an afterthought. Like I'm some kind of charity case you can call whenever you need help, but you can't even make room for me at your birthday dinner. The room fell silent. Everyone was watching now. Matt and Lisa looked at each other, their faces turning a shade of red I'd never seen before. And that's when I knew I wasn't leaving until I got what I deserved. The tension in the room thickened like fog, and I could feel every single pair of eyes on me. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was hurt, and there was no turning back from it. Matt leaned back in his chair, looking at me like I had just ruined his entire evening. Lisa looked more uncomfortable than I'd ever seen her, shifting in her seat, her eyes darting from me to Matt like she was trying to figure out whether to side with me or not. But Matt? He wasn't backing down. Instead, he crossed his arms over his chest, trying to put on that air of authority like he had everything under control. I could feel my hands tightening into fists at my sides. I had spent years supporting him, helping him, putting up with his laziness, and yet here I was, standing alone in a room full of people I hardly knew, excluded from the very family I had always tried to help. You know what? I said, the words coming out through gritted teeth. I've done more for you than anyone ever has. I've been the one you've leaned on when you needed a hand. And now, for this birthday, you can't even be bothered to treat me like family. I'm not even close family enough to get a seat at the table. The sarcasm in my voice was biting. I was done playing nice. Lisa's face flushed with embarrassment, but it was Matt who spoke next, his voice low and sharp. Jake, you're acting like a child. Just sit down, okay? This is ridiculous. I didn't even blink. I'm not sitting down. Not until I get the respect I deserve. You're treating me like I'm not even part of this family, and I'm done with it. The whole room was now silent, the laughter and clinking of glasses replaced by this heavy, suffocating quiet. People were whispering behind their hands, glancing nervously at each other, unsure of how to react. I could see a few people trying to avoid eye contact, clearly uncomfortable with the scene I was causing. I didn't care. I wasn't doing this for them. I was doing it for me. Matt's face twisted in frustration. Look, I get it, okay? You're upset. But you're making a spectacle of yourself. You're embarrassing me. I could feel my pulse quicken, and I took a deep breath to steady myself. It would have been so easy to turn around and leave, to say something snarky and storm out of there. But I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. I wasn't going to let him walk away thinking that he could just dismiss me, like he had done so many times before. I wanted him to know exactly what he had done. No, Matt, I said, slowly, letting each word settle into the air. You're embarrassing yourself. You spent your whole life using me. I've been there for you through everything, and all I get is being shoved in the back of the room like an afterthought. I looked at him, really looked at him. My brother. The person who, for so long, I thought I would always be there for, no matter what. But as the words spilled out, I realized something. I didn't want to be this person anymore. I didn't want to be the person who let people walk all over me. I've been your safety net for years, Matt. But you know what? I'm done. Lisa's mouth opened like she was about to say something, but I wasn't going to let her interrupt me. Not this time. You're selfish, Matt, I continued, my voice now cutting through the tension. And that's the reason I'm not going to sit here and pretend this is okay. You don't respect me, and clearly, you don't care. So, you can forget about me continuing to help you when you need it. You don't get that from me anymore. His face went white, but it wasn't the kind of reaction I was hoping for. It was pure anger that flashed in his eyes. "You're threatening me now," he said, his voice rising. "I'm not threatening you," I shot back. "I'm setting a boundary, and I'm done letting you walk all over me." There was a long pause, the kind of silence that was heavy with all the unspoken words we had never said to each other. It was like everything had come to a head in that moment. For a second, I thought maybe I had overdone it. Maybe I had taken things too far. But as I looked around at the guests in the room, I realized I didn't care about their opinions. I didn't care about Matt's embarrassment. What mattered now was me. Matt finally broke the silence. "You're making a huge mistake." His voice was low, more dangerous than before. "I'm your brother. You think I need you?" I didn't say anything, just looked him dead in the eye. He was trying to manipulate me, and it was pathetic. He had always leaned on me, always knew I'd be there, and now that I was finally standing up for myself, he couldn't handle it. Lisa's face was pale now, a mix of shock and discomfort. "Matt," she said quietly, "maybe you should just calm down and—" "No, Lisa. Let him speak. Let him get it all out." I cut her off. "Because I'm done. No more favors. No more loans. No more doing your dirty work. You two want to treat me like I'm invisible? Fine. I'll just start acting like it." I could see it in Matt's eyes now. The fear. The realization that he had pushed me too far. The man who had always relied on me for everything was suddenly starting to see the consequences of taking me for granted. It felt good. It felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. But the night wasn't over yet, and the real turning point was just around the corner. As the silence stretched on, I could feel the weight of the room pressing in on me. Everyone was waiting for someone to say something, but I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me back down. I wasn't backing off now, no matter what. I took a deep breath, glanced one last time at the faces of the people who had been so quick to judge me, and then my eyes landed on the small box I had carefully wrapped earlier that afternoon. It was nestled in my bag, and I had been holding on to it all evening like it was some sort of tether. A tether to a family that had never really treated me as part of it. But now, it felt more like a weight. I walked over to the table where Matt was sitting, his arms still crossed tightly over his chest, his face twisted with a mix of anger and confusion. He was avoiding eye contact, but I wasn't going to let him off the hook. I reached into my bag, pulling out the small, neatly wrapped gift I had spent hours picking out. A smartwatch. Something I knew he had been eyeing for months. I had saved up for it for weeks, knowing how much he would appreciate the gesture. I wanted to show him that I cared, that I was there for him, despite everything. But now, with everything that had happened, that gift suddenly felt like a joke. I held it up for him to see, and his eyes widened. I could tell that he wasn't expecting this. He thought, maybe, that I was just going to storm off in anger, but I wasn't giving him that. Not anymore. I wasn't going to just leave quietly. "Here," I said, my voice steady, but there was a bite to it. "This is for you. I thought you'd appreciate it, considering how much you've been talking about it." Matt's eyebrows furrowed as he glanced at the box, then back at me. For a second, I thought he was going to reach out for it. But instead, he just blinked, confused. "Jake, what's this?" he asked, his voice now tinged with uncertainty. I held the box just out of his reach. "It's the smartwatch you've been wanting, remember? The one you've been talking about for weeks. The one I thought would be a good way to show you that I care." I could see the shift in his expression. That confusion started to turn into realization, then into something else. Fear. A kind of genuine fear that I had never seen in him before. Maybe it was the first time in our lives that he wasn't sure he could get away with pushing me around. You're not leaving with it, are you?" Matt asked, his voice trembling slightly, like he wasn't sure whether he was joking or not. I shook my head slowly, and I could feel a cruel satisfaction bubbling up inside me. "Oh, I am. In fact, I'm taking it with me. This," I said, tapping the box lightly, "was for a brother I thought I could count on, for someone who valued our relationship. But now, I'm taking it back because I realize that I've been an idiot to believe that this gift meant anything to you. I've been an idiot to believe you valued me." There was a heavy pause, and I could see the shock and frustration on his face, but honestly, I didn't care. I stepped back, clutching the box to my chest, and I could feel every eye in the room following me. The quiet had turned to murmurs. I wasn't just leaving with the gift. No, I was making a statement. I wasn't going to let Matt think he could treat me like I was disposable. I turned on my heel and started toward the door, my heart pounding in my chest. Behind me, I heard Matt's voice rise, desperate, though tinged with anger. "Jake, don't do this." I didn't stop. As I walked past the front hall, I could hear him calling my name again, but it was too late. The years of resentment, of taking care of him, of carrying him, all came crashing down in that moment. And I wasn't going to let him get away with it anymore. I stepped outside, into the cool night air, clutching the small box like it was a shield. The gift that had once been a symbol of my loyalty to him now felt like a weight of everything I'd been carrying for too long. I was done. Done trying to prove myself. Done being the one to always come to the rescue. Done letting him treat me like I didn't matter. But as I stood there, the cool night breeze brushing against my face, I felt this strange sense of calm. A clarity I hadn't felt in ages. Maybe I had lost a brother tonight, but I was gaining something so much more valuable, my peace. And it felt good. It's been a few weeks since the party, and I still haven't heard from Matt. Not that I'm surprised. He hasn't even bothered to apologize for what went down. In fact, he hasn't really reached out at all. At first, I felt a bit guilty. I questioned myself, wondering if maybe I went too far, if taking the gift back was a step too harsh. But then I remembered everything that led up to that night. The constant feeling of being taken for granted, the way he always expected me to be there for him, but never once returned the favor, and how, when it came down to it, I wasn't even considered important enough to sit with the adults at my own brother's birthday. I haven't really had a chance to sit down and think about everything properly until recently. It's funny, how you can carry all this weight for years, holding on to it because you think family should come first, and then one day, it just clicks. That's what happened to me that night. That was the moment I realized that maybe family doesn't always get to dictate how things should be. I get to decide what my relationships look like, too. Matt hasn't reached out, but neither has anyone else in the family. It's like they've all sided with him. There's this sort of unspoken understanding that I was in the wrong. I see them posting on social media, all the pictures from the birthday dinner, and I just scroll past. I've learned the hard way that family can be toxic just like anyone else. And just because we are related doesn't mean I owe anyone my time or loyalty when they don't treat me with respect. I don't know if Matt is even aware of how much he messed up. Part of me wants him to come to me and apologize, but another part of me knows that if he hasn't figured it out by now, then maybe it's not even worth it. Maybe I've spent so many years trying to be the bigger person that I forgot to value myself in the process. Since then, I've been doing better. I've had more time for myself, for the things that matter to me. I've been reconnecting with friends I'd lost touch with, and I've focused on personal goals. It's like this weight has been lifted. Sure, it's tough not having the relationship with my brother that I thought I would, but at the same time, I feel more free. More me. And you know what? That smartwatch that I took back? I ended up keeping it. It's mine now, and every time I look at it, I feel this small sense of pride. Not because it's expensive or anything, but because it's a reminder that I finally took a stand for myself. And in a strange way, it's kind of my symbol of reclaiming my life. So, here I am now, thinking about whether I did the right thing. Was I too harsh? Or did I finally draw a line in the sand that needed to be drawn? Honestly, I don't know. But I'm curious to hear what you all think. Have any of you been in a situation like this where you've had to cut ties with family members who didn't treat you right? How did it go for you? Did you regret it? Or did it end up being the best thing for you in the long run? I'd love to hear your thoughts.